Good evening, everyone. This is Captain Ando. I am the Dark Star Strategist. I just recently unlocked a new ship that I have not had previously. That is the Vorta. It is a 4-star Romulan mining faction ship. It is currently, I have to locate it real quickly because it's brand spanking new, sitting at tier 1 with no upgrades. It does have an advantage with ore mining laser. It increases the mining rate of ore by 120%, much like its counterpart, the Valkis. That is something specialty to the Romulans. And the one thing you'll also have the 4-star ships, they all have very unique looks to them. So the Vorta, it actually looks very Romulan in nature. If you go to the other 4-star ships and look at their faction miners, we have the most specifically the USS Hydra. You can see it's got a kind of a 3-bulbed appearance, totally different from the Vorta. And then if you go to the Klingons, they have the Mature, which kind of looks somewhat insectine in design, very bulky. So they all have very unique looks to them. They basically just upgrade to the type of G4 in this case that is typical to their faction. So I want to do a kind of a side-by-side comparison of this to the Cavort, give you an idea of its capabilities as comparison at low tier, how much it costs to upgrade, and some things you can do to mitigate the costs. Now, one thing I typically recommend when building new 4-star faction ships is start doing a lot of research to improve your efficiency. Now, the first thing you really want to take a look at is each of the factions have research specifically under their faction. There's ship structure, which improves the cost efficiency of titanium and dilithium for Romulan ship components. That's a pretty huge one. I've got one upgrade left to go, so you can see that's pretty boosted here. And you also want to get repair costs up, because the titanium and dilithium repair costs for these ships tends to be extremely high. You want to make sure you stay ahead of that. Now, under the galaxy tree, you will have mostly just things that boost your mining rates. Specifically, you want to make sure your G3, G4, and as well as you want to make sure anything that boosts your protected cargo, if you can get it, that's something you try to make a priority as well. You will get some other bonuses that really don't help you as much, and some things that just really have to do more with the mining rates and, well, the cost efficiency. But those are some things that are in the galaxy tree you want to consider here. Away teams specifically, what you're going to look at is you do have a little bit to boost their warp speed, get them out there faster. Big things you want to look at is there are things that increase the max cargo size as well as the protected cargo for all ships. So those are types of things that you want to keep working on as you go through your away teams. Now, next, you also want to look in the outlaw tree. And very specifically here, there's only a couple things that really help you from a miner perspective. And that is going to be the lithium upgrades. That's something at the very back of the tree. So it's a very costly thing. I wouldn't make it your first priority. Each of these researches are well over 100 million dilithium to get. But it's things that can help boost your upgrade costs to keep them down even more. What is something I recommend going hard is in the territory research. You got protected cargo. If you get the prime, that's one. As well as some ship upgrade costs for crystal ore and gas, as well as optimized ship upgrades for parsteel, titanium, and dilithium for ship components. Those are all some things that can really cut down on some of those upgrade costs, and other things just increases the speed of repairs. That doesn't do as much, but those things, anything that reduces your costs, are highly desirable. I highly recommend people get that research. So I'm going to take a look side by side at the two ships. So first of all, I'm looking at a Tier 8 Cavort. This is not quite maxed. Specifically, what it's lacking is a warp engine upgrade, which will give it plus 10 more warp range. Now, I also get an additional plus 10 warp range from research. That's something you get in your 40s. So nominally for most of you, if you're looking at it before that getting that upgrade, you're going to be looking at a maximum warp range of 60 for a fully tiered out tier 9 Horizon or other faction ship. Now, capability wise, the one stats you're really interested in are down their utility. Impulse speed 75. Not so much to worry about that unless you're trying to raid and you want to hit a target faster. You can boost them up with your speed boosting officers. Warp range, that's pretty important. You want to make sure it can get to the mines you need. Warp speed 26.2. That's a lot of research has supported that, so that's not something it comes at. Cargo capacity. This is currently sitting at 2.6 million. If I put in an optimized loadout, which includes Ston and the Borg Officer 2 of 10, it can get to about 4.2 million, and there's more research I can do to boost that a little bit further. So that's something to think about when you're rating. Now, the question is, which ship will use rating? We'll get to that in a little bit here. Protected cargo, you can see this ship at tier 8 and almost tier 9 is almost 180k right now. I can sit on 100k mine, drain it, send it home, and send it back and pick up another one, no problem. In fact, I could probably rotate cargo capacities off and boost the mining speed if I really want to. That's just things to consider. Right now I have a cargo capacity set up. I could even boost this protected cargo further. And my mining bonus is currently 1,920%. So those are some key stats here. That's a tier 8 Cavort. Now we'll take a look at, by comparison, at the Vorta Vor at tier 1, and then we'll take a look at the cost of upgrading. So now, impulse speed. I do have some things that boost impulse ships, so this is actually normally slower. My impulse speed is actually 73. Warp range starts higher, so already out the gate, I'm 15 higher than the Cavort is. Now, warp speed is slower. I got that at 18.7. Cargo capacity, with just this officer lineup here, which has 2 protected cargo officers and 1 mining rate officer, I have almost a million cargo capacity and about 55k protected cargo. Right where it's at, I could do a pretty good job of hitting high 3-star system mines, which are about 60k. Now, the mining bonus is about 1,300%, so it's about 620% lower. So we're losing a pretty substantial amount of protected cargo and cargo capacity right out the gate, tier 1. But remember, you can upgrade these things and get higher. So we're going to take a look into that a little bit and see what the types of typically things cost. Now, one of the limiting resources on some other ships is typically your, in this case, we would be talking about mining ship parts, components. That's not so much an issue here. You can see right now at tier 1, things are already pretty costly. They're not exorbitantly expensive. Like, for instance, some of my upgrades on my Valdo right now is sitting around 2 billion titanium. So 21 million, not so bad. But these things are going to add up, and most people don't have real fat reserves. But I'm going to go ahead at least show you tier 2, give you an idea of what it's looking like as we tier it up a little bit. And we should be able to do that no problem. We have all the parts and components we need. And we'll go ahead and tier that up real quick. Takes about 3 days. That's another thing about the 4-star ships. There's a lot longer suspense times on just doing the tiering, and the repair costs tend to be a bit higher as well. You want to take all these types of decisions into account when you're thinking about, is this worth it for me to get? So we'll go ahead and tier this up real quick, and we'll take a look at what we're looking at now at a higher tier. So a higher tier, we go back down to the utility stats. Impulse speed is still 73. Our warp range is at 90, so already at tier 2, I am 20 higher than my Cavort is currently. It's going to be about 10 higher if I maxed it out. Cargo capacity, 1 million. So even still right now, we mean, we can take out look at the exact values. It's about 1.3. It's about half of what your Tier 8 Cavort is at this stage in the game when it has the cargo capacity upgrade. Protected cargo. Now we're talking business here. We got about 95k. I can sit on a 4-star mine and drain it almost completely empty and not go over protected cargo. They total out at about 100k, but I can do that. My mining bonus is about 1450, and I can reach out, and with that extended warp range, I can look out a little bit farther. That's the next thing you'll want to consider, is how far can I get. I can take this ship that much farther than my Cavort, and I can start mining in systems that I couldn't before. And one of those systems, got to look into dark space to get there, is... Now, I can't get to the second cluster yet. That's at 120. But you can take a good look at the first cluster, and I can reach that. If I switch to my Cavort right now, and I look at that system again, I can't do it. The warp range required is 75. If I got that warp range upgraded tier 9, I could pull it off. But even at tier 2, your 4-star faction ship can easily reach those systems. And you can go mine the 4-star gas, ore, and crystal, no problem, at tier 2. And we're going to take a look at the cost for upgrades again. So now we're starting to see increases here. We got 86 million titanium for this one, 4 million dilithium, and we're starting to see uncommon survey parts as well coming into play. So you're starting to see more uncommons in general. So you're already looking at these things. You know the cost is going to be higher. So when you do it, and we'll go ahead and see if we can upgrade it all the way to a tier 3. You know there's going to be a higher level of cost involved in this process. And that's just something you're going to have to account for as you work through this. So, oops, get these dilithium tokens up there. I just want to give people an idea of what the general costs are. As you can see, this is getting higher and higher for each of these components. So I get the mining tool, maybe get the warp range, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get really anything else. I don't think that I can even... Well, maybe. It's going to be close. Yeah, I'm going to be able to pull it off, but I'm going to just do one more tier just to kind of show you the comparisons between these two vessels. And that's about it. I'm really not going to go much further than that. So I'm going to go ahead and tier this out. Probably raid some of this back later so I can have a functioning working inventory to go out and do quests. But we'll go ahead and just speed up through this tier. We're just going to take a look at the stats again and just leave the ship components where it's at. So now we're sitting at a strength of about 950,000 without leveling up. So you can imagine as the ship levels up, it's going to have more of that. It might be higher than the Cavort by tier 3. Impulse speed's still pretty slow. Warp range